Hey guys, hopefully I'm live now. Can somebody confirm if they can hear me fine? I have only two people here, or I guess only one viewer. So whoever is there on the line, if they can confirm, if they can hear me fine. So whoever is there on the line, because I just tested it, it is showing up fine. So we'll give 2 minutes and then we'll start. Anyone who is joining right now, we are just waiting for 6:30 and 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll start. All right, so good evening or good morning, good afternoon, based on wherever you are. This is my first YouTube live video. I hope you're able to see me fine and you're able to hear me fine. If there is an issue with that, please let me know on the chat box and I'll see if I can make any change. But I guess it's looking fine from my side. So, all right. So the topic for today, it's Halloween here in US, and one of the things I made recently on PowerApps was a movie recommender, a horror movie recommender app, and I thought it would be good to just do a video on that today because it's Halloween, and also it can help you select some horror movies if you're looking for. So. So let's get started over here. I'll first give a quick demo on how the app looks if you have not seen it already. So let's see if I can make this work. Okay. All right. Hopefully you guys are able to see my screen fine. So this is the app which I made on PowerApps using PowerApps, Flow, and some API. We'll talk more on that, but let's first just have a quick demo. So I click on this. It gives me a nice spooky animation while it searches for a horror movie. And as you can see, it gives me a result over here. And this is actually, if I'm not wrong, it's an Indian Tamil movie. And so you can see that it gives you the poster, the IMDb rating over here. You can click on IMDb to look for details on the IMDb page. This gives the movie name, the year, and an overview of the movie. This so when you click on Netflix, it will try to search for it. I guess it probably doesn't search this letters. The same thing on Amazon Prime. You can search for it. Again, Amazon was not able to find it. So let's try another movie just quickly over here and see if we can see something on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Okay, so you can see if there is a YouTube trailer for the movie, it will return that as well. You can see that over here. And you can, let's see if the Netflix thing works now. For some reason, oh, I guess I need to choose my profile first. All right. So yeah, if you have chosen the profile, it will show you all the movies, and I guess the movie is there on Netflix. Similarly for Amazon Prime. So as it's not showing Prime, it's not on Prime, but you can still, I guess, buy it or play the trailer over here. So that's how. That's just a demo of the app. I'll show you how the flow that we are using for this, and if only you can find that. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is I'm using PowerApps as the trigger, and this is a complicated flow, but it looks complicated. It is not. And I'll kind of go through it step by step, and we'll create a separate flow altogether from scratch. I just wanted to show you what I've done over here. So what I'm doing is I'm sending a request to the movie DB. It's a database of movies which has all the different I would say movies and all the items attributes associated with it. And you can specify how you want to search for something, and accordingly it will return a movie and its details. Before I jump more into detail about the flow, let me just give you a quick overlook on the API that I'm using. Of course, I have to use an API, right? I'm that API guy. So the movie database API. So if you search for it, you just search for the moviedb.org, or just search the movie database API, and you'll be able to see this. Now, one thing which I wanted to cover, which generally I skip in other videos, is how do I get key, right? So let me kind of show you what my thought process generally is when I'm looking for something like that. So I generally search for movie database API. And as you can see, the first result that I get is this one. You can see there are some other APIs as well. There's an OMDB API. You can search on Quora as well. There are sometimes good answers on Quora and Reddit, so you can look over there. The other one, which is a good resource, is the Programmable Web. So that also lists all the movie APIs. You can refer that. Now, the one which I've used is the movie database API, and I'll kind of walk through. So let's kind of walk through from here. So when I click on this, it will load the API documentation. Any API would have a documentation, and most of the good APIs have good documentation, so you can easily find the way to use the API and how to send the requests. So to first get an API key, what you need to do is it will generally you have to register for it. It's free, but it has some limits on the number of calls that you can make to it. So I'll click on this, and because I am already logged in, it will give me my API key. Yes, my API key is open. I'll probably delete my account after this. So yeah, this is generally, so once you register for it, you probably need to enter some details. And actually, let's do that over here instead of not showing you how to register for it. Let's register one and see how to do it. Okay, so as I clicked on it, it says you need to be logged in, or you can sign up. So we'll sign up. I'll say that API guy password. For a second, we'll move this. And okay. Oops. Yeah, I don't want to give away my API password, right? And my email. Okay. I guess my email can be something that I can share. So once I click on sign up, it will ask me to verify my account. And once I verify on my email ID, I can log in and basically I can get the key. So that's just to show you how generally you can get keys. This is generally the way you do it for any other APIs. So yeah, so this is my key that I can use. Now going back to the documentation. So the API, I mean, so the API has a lot of different, I would say, functions. I don't know if that's the correct word, but you can discover some movies, or you can discover, I mean, I guess there's some networks, um, get details about keywords, get details about the genres that they're using, um, finding some, like you can find a movie by an external ID as well. So if you have the IMDb ID, probably you can use that to look for a movie over here. So there are different ways that you can use the API. The two things that I have used is, one is to discover a movie. In this, you can pass some variables like the movie release dates, between what release dates you want the movie, the language, the country, and a lot of other parameters you can see over here, the genre, the year, a lot of things. So I'll show you how I'm using it over here. So this is the way you generally test for an API. I guess I don't need my API. Let's see if this works. So I'll put the language as EN, US, popularity, sort by, you can sort the results by the popularity. They're using some popularity index, which they have created, so that you can look for only the popular movies. And so for our app, we are going to search for horror movies. Now the way to, you need to put the genre ID, not the genre name. So for that, just go on to genres. I guess they had the genre defined somewhere over here. We will just send the request. Okay, I need to put my API key over here. So we'll copy the API key. Paste it over here. And then, so most of the APIs have a way to test the APIs. Sometimes you don't need to put an API key, you can just test it as it is. But in this case, you have to put the API key. So as you can see, it gives me all the list, a JSON response of all the genres that they're using with the genre ID. Now we are interested in horror, so we'll use the ID 27. So going back to discover, I'll put the genre. Where is the genre? With genres. So you can specify multiple genres by putting a comma between those, but I'm just interested in horror and let's say movies. So I can put primary release date. Now, GTE, LTE is something which you can kind of understand. It's like the greater than or less than. So let's say 2010, oops, 2010, and let's say 2018. So I want movies between 2010 and 2018, which are horror and which are English in language and sort by the popularity. So we'll send the request. So it also gives you the HTTP request that you need to use. So that's also handy when you want to put it in the flow, and I'll show you how that you can use that. So you can see over here it returned the the movies under which met that criteria, and so this is the page one of the results. There are total 6,800 results. Total pages is 340, and it starts off with the results over here. So what it and I counted, and the total number of results it returns in one page is 20. Um, so let's see. So yeah, you can see it kind of it gives you a lot of details about the movie. So the title, the vote average, if there is a video that it has associated with it, the poster path, and I'll show you how to use this as well, the overview, the release date. So you can see the genre over here, 27. So all this will be something that we can use in the app when we finally pull this information. So this is so the other thing that I used was this just returned a handful of details. It sometimes doesn't return all the details, right? So what I'll do is this is the movie ID that they are using. So we'll copy this. We'll go to movies and so this is to get more details about the movie. So I know it seems like, okay, how do I know that I need to go over here? It's just something that you need to just explore within the API and see how what you are looking for and how it makes sense for you. There are always ways to kind of filter it, so you can search for some terms and try to figure out how to use it. But more or less, you need to kind of explore the API to get the result, to get what you want out of it. We'll put the movie ID over here and send request. So you can see over here that movie. Let me see, was that the right movie? I guess I went back, but so it basically gives me more details about the movie. It gives the budget of the movie, the home page of the movie, IMDb ID, a lot of other details, right? So this is something that we'll use in our Power App. Just to confirm, I want to see if that was the correct movie. I guess I pasted something else. So yeah, but yeah, so this one is the Purge Anarchy. We'll copy the movie ID. We'll go back, go forward, and paste the movie ID over here. Send request, and it shows me the so the Purge. It shows the name. The original title is actually the name of the movie. I guess this is the collection. Oh yeah, it belongs to collection. So it checks for if it belongs to a collection, and I guess they have an ID for the collection as well. So yeah, a lot of things. There's a bunch of details that you can get. Now going back to the flow. So instead of kind of going through, so actually let's go through it once and then we create our own flow. So what I did is I got the number of pages first by using the discover kind of get request, and I selected a random page out of those results that I just showed you in this. So in this case, there were like 342 pages. So I'm gonna select a random page out of that to get a random movie. Now, and so after randomly selecting the page, um, what I will do is I'll use that ID that I get from this, and then use the get request, the movie details get request, pass the ID, and then get the details, more details of the movie. Now, when I made this app, I kind of used another API as well. It's called the OMDB API. And it had the IMDb rating, but and just for the IMDb rating, I created this whole another bunch of flow. Uh, this whole flow is just to get the IMDb rating. So in this case, I'm not going to use the IMDb rating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that popularity index that they are using, and we'll pull that into the PowerApp. So let's start with creating a flow. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, please post it on the chat on YouTube, and I'll make sure that I can answer to that. So we'll use PowerApps as a trigger, and then we'll pass the HTTP, need the HTTP request action. So we'll use that because we are not sending any details. It's a GET request, and if you need to understand this, basically it's if you're not sending any kind of data to the API, it's mostly going to be a GET request. If you are modifying the API or adding something to the database, that's where you post. So it's like you either get things or you post things. So we're going to use the get discover movie, and let's go back here. Where was the create flow? Yep. So we're going to use the get request, and as I showed you in this example, it created the URL for me. So I don't need to do a lot. I can just copy this and paste it over here. Now, what you could do is instead of defining the parameters over here, you can define the parameters, the 2010, 2018, and the genre. That is something that you can take from PowerApps. So you can put like ask in PowerApps and allow your user to basically filter results. So we'll do only one over here, and I'm thinking which one would be the good one so that you get a feel of how you're getting data from PowerApps as well. So let's say the start date and end date. We'll take that. So I'll remove the 2010, 2018, and what we'll do is we'll ask for these things in PowerApps. Ask in PowerApps. Okay. Now I know that I just want the horror movies because it's Halloween, so we will not change anything else. But all these things you can basically take from PowerApps. You can create a whole UI, and I can show you. I created a movie recommender app with all those elements, and I'll give a demo after we create this for that app as well. But today is Halloween, We'll just focus on horror movies. So once we define this, you'll get the number of pages from this response. So let's start putting the request to get the I mean, we want to define like get results for a random page here. So let's see over here so that we kind of keep on track on what we are trying to do. So this is one of the samples that I had run. So when I pass the result, I'm getting these results. So I'm okay, yeah. So the number of pages over here. So let's go to the top. So yeah, I'm getting the number of pages here, the total pages, and that's what I'm using in the next step. So what we'll do is I'll try to show you how to do that. So we follow the same procedure again, but in this case, what we are doing is so we put the get request. What we want to do is we want to define a random page, right? So we put the same get request, but there is an option over here. If you go back to this, there is a page number option over here. So there is so you see over here page 1. So if I change it to 2, you can see the page equal to 2 changes, and then I get the response for the page 2. So this is the way you can get the response for each page for the different pages. So going back to over here, so we want to define our page. So this is the place. So page equals to. Now you need to get the total pages that you get from this HTTP request. Now the way to do it is you go to expression. Generally, how I start writing an expression is I'll type some random letter because I want to get some dynamic content, but I want to put it in the expression. I don't want to paste it directly. So this is kind of a hack, I would say, which I discovered. There might be an easier way, but this is how I do it. So I'm getting the whole body of the response. So that's the whole response. And then what I want is the total number of pages. So what you can do is you can see it, and let's go here. You can see the sample response. So when you see over here, so the total pages, you need to copy that total pages, and then let's just paste it over here. So this will give me the total pages that I get from here. So I guess I don't need the total pages. I did something wrong over here. I want a random page number. Now, I guess I need to take a step back here. So when I created the app, I took the total pages and I took a random number from that. But then I just realized it half an hour ago that I was sorting by the popularity, and I don't want to look at movies more than the page number 10, right? So what we'll do is instead of getting this, actually, I'm just going to use the random function. So the random function, if you have used in PowerApps, it's a similar way that you can use in Flow. So I'm going to use um, the random function in Flow over here. So rand, and I'll put 1 to 10. I want a random page between 1 and 10 because I don't, so these will cover around 200 responses. I don't want anything more than that. I just want the good ones, the good movies. So I'll update that over here. Guess I probably don't need the 2 requests. So I guess let's do that. I don't want to, let's optimize it over here. You need to be careful. Okay, we need to. And one thing you need to be careful is if you might have to put some if expression If the total number of pages is less than 10 for the number of responses that you get, then this will create an error, right? So what you can do is you can say if uh, you need to define it that over here, right? So if the total number of pages is less than 10, then why not do it, right? Sorry for going back and forth, but I guess I want to do it so that we make a better solution over here. So if dynamic content, body, and total number of pages, total pages is greater, is less than 10, or I need to use a function. I can't just put that over here. So what's the expression for that? Oh, I need to go into expression. Less equals, I guess. Integer compared to, okay. All right, so I'm seeing I have another half an hour. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna get rid of the step. I know this is not gonna be the best solution, but I want to cover some more areas and give you some better overview. So let's go into just random 1 to 10, and we'll get a lot of results in this case. We'll put a good range of years, so we'll get some good results. So this will give me, so it will select a random page between 1 to 10, and we'll select the dates from PowerApps. We'll send it to the flow, and we'll get the responses. Now the next step should be to get the movie details. Now, so for the movie details, let's go back to this API. Click on movies, and let's see the request that it sends. Oops. Yeah. So we'll copy this request, the get request, go back to our flow, create a HTTP, get URL and URL. So what we want to change over here is the movie ID. I need to see what I did. I'm gonna. Okay. Yep. So what we'll do is we'll select. So in each page you get 20 responses, 20 movies basically. So you want to select some random movie. So you're doing two random functions over here. One is to randomize the page number, and then to randomly pick a movie from that page. One thing. Okay. Just hold on. Sorry for the pause. I just face. Oops. Okay. All right. Okay, coming back. So what we'll do over here is we'll define a random function. To quickly kind of do it, I'll copy it from here and show you how I did it. Go to expression, click on this, paste that. The thing we need to change over here is it's a different HTTP. So select the body, HTTP. Now, this is an expression that you need to kind of understand. So what we are doing is we are taking all the results that we are getting from this response. So let's go back to the discover. So the discover is the one where you get all the responses. So you're getting 20 responses over here. So these results, so it's basically stored in the results array, right? So that's your array, and within the array, you want to select a random number between 1 to 20. So that's what I've done over here. So this is the results is the array that I have, and then I'm randomly selecting a number 1 to 20. So let's say if we choose, if the random number is 2, it will select the second result from that results response, and for that response it will take the ID. So this is the way you write an expression. If you're not kind of used to it, this might be something new, but once you start using it, you'll understand how you're kind of forming the expression. All right, so we'll insert this in over here. Let's see, I guess the question, let's see, the request is okay. Okay, let's go to the movies. Yeah, so the request should have the movie slash the movie ID and then followed by the API key. So that's what we are doing over here. Movie slash the movie ID that we get from here and then followed by the API key. So this, let's just rename it so that it makes sense. Rename get movie details. So at this step, you're getting all the movie details. Now you want to then send these movie details to PowerApps, and I'll show you how to do that now. We'll use the request response. Oh, wrong spelling. Hopefully I can spell request correctly. So you need to use the response request. The reason why I'm using this, there are two ways actually to do it. You can use the respond to PowerApps, and then define each and every attribute that you want to send. So you can pick and choose that whatever you want to send from this, and you'll have to write an expression for each of them in the respond to PowerApps. So that's how I've done over here, and I can show you. So in this, I use respond to PowerApps because I didn't know how to use request response correctly then. So for each of the attribute, I'm defining what I want to send to the body, HTTP get movie details, original title, then body HTTP, the request overview. But there is an easy way to do this. Instead of using this respond to PowerApps, we'll use a request response, using which you can send the whole thing, the whole, let's say the JSON response in a form of a collection back to PowerApps. All right, so response, request. And what you want to send over here is you don't want, so let's look at the response that you get when you kind of put the get movie details request. So run history, yeah. So when I run the get movie details, this is my response. Yeah, all the different things. So what I'll do is I'll copy this. This is like a sample response. Or actually, let's do it over here. So what I need is the body of this whole thing. And in this case, as I'm not using like an array of responses, I can just pass the body. And otherwise, I'll have, if it's an array that I want to send back, I might have to use body and square brackets, the array, like the results if I'm sending the whole thing back. But in this case, I hope this works. Let's figure out together, right? So we have our request kind of ready over here. What we'll do is we'll try to test it. First, let's save this. Halloween random horror movie. Okay. Right. So save that. Now to test it, I don't even need to use PowerApps. I can just test it from here. If you haven't used this yet, there's a test flow option and say I'll perform the trigger action. We'll put save and test. And it should start. Okay, so it will ask me to give the URI. So if I'm not wrong, it was the start here and the end here. This is one thing which I wished I could change in the flow, and this to change the variable name of the things that I'm requesting from PowerApps. It would be so much easier, right? So if anybody in the PowerApps team is listening to this, or the flow team, please please make this option happen. So I'll run the flow now. Click on done. So you basically didn't need PowerApps to run it, right? So let's see our and it did run successfully. So let's see then. So you see we got a random number generated from the function that we created. So random page number 4. These are all the results that we got in that. And the next step was to get movie details for a random movie within that page. So what it has done is, let's see if it, so what it did is, so this 3 is the random number between 1 to 20 that the function generated. And the third movie, which was there in the response, was this. So we got this movie. So the response request, how it works. So what you want to do is you want to copy this whole thing. Copy, then click on edit. You need to give the schema for this response request to kind of format it when you send it back to PowerApp. So click on use sample payload to generate schema. Paste the whole response. And if there is an error over here, it will generally show a red mark and it won't allow you to kind of save it. But in this case, there is no errors. So the response seems fine. So you click on done. And it creates basically a JSON schema. So this, from my understanding, as I'm not a tech person, but from my understanding, it defines the type of attribute for each attribute, how it is being used, and what the type is. So it kind of creates the scheme for that. So let's say for adult, the type is Boolean. The reason why it's showing it like that is because the adult is a true or false. So that's basically the thing that this is doing. I just wanted to give you details about this because this is something which you might not understand because if you're not from an IT background, but it's really simple. It's either Boolean, string, it's an integer. That's what it's doing over here. Now we'll save this, and now we need to see this on an app. So let's create a Power App with it. So to start off, I'll actually use the theme. This is something that I like about the new themes. So if you have not used these, there are some Office themes which you can use. The orange theme is something that looks similar to, I guess, let's say, if only I can select that. Yeah, so the colors look a bit Halloweeny, I would say. So if I click on insert button now, you see the color is kind of the orange pumpkin kind of color. So We'll say this, show me a horror movie. And what we need to do is next is on selecting the button, it should run the flow. So I go to action, flows, and try to search for my flow. So this is the flow that I need to use. I'll click on that. It's adding it right now. So I need to define the start and the end now. To get, so we can actually define, I mean, let's put some two text boxes over here. Text input, text input. And so this is, one is for the start here and one is for the end here. So let's just put it over here. The hint, we'll change the hint text to start here and end here. And we'll use those two over here. So I want text input as my start here and text input 2 as my. Okay, so Brian, because you're saying dark theme, I'll use that. Let's go to theme and dark theme. It doesn't have the colors that I need, so give me a dark Halloween color theme and I'll use that. But anyways, I guess to do that, we could do one thing. I can insert media, or let's do that later on. Well, let's get the functions rolling over here. So this is my function. Basically, we'll put some labels over here before doing that. So what you want to do is you want to collect this in a collection, right? Oops, that's something I don't like. Okay, so clear collect. Now, if you have done this before, if you kind of get the, like when you're typing and you kind of, the function gets deleted, just put a space there, go back, finish the function, click on tab, and then create this. It's a handy thing which sometimes helps you. So we'll create a name, movie details, and we'll finish this. Oops. All right. So this is what it should hopefully work. Let's try it now. Okay. So another thing, if you guys don't use the Alt function, the Alt key to run the app, it's a pretty nifty tool. Just hit the Alt key and you can run the app within the PowerApps. You don't need to play it. So I'll click on that and we'll see how our flow turns out. We'll go back. It says succeeded. So it did run fine. Now we need to see if it collected the details. All right, view, collections, and you see, it shows me the genre, the IMDb, and okay, I did have the IMDb rating, I guess, over here. IMDb ID, movie overview. For some reason, it has returned 3 movies, and I'm not sure why. I guess we can I just want to show you how. Oops, did I select the correct collection? Oh, okay. Yeah, I went to some other app in between my original app. So yeah, this is the actual collection, the movie details, and it's collecting all the things in one record over here. So you get all the things. Now, how to use that, right? We quickly insert some. So this would be our movie title. The way we want to use is first, because we collected in a collection, we want to use the first record. So first details dot, and you can see all the variables that you can get over here. So original title, you do some alignment over here, and then you can insert the poster for that movie. So let's do it over here. I have 10 more minutes. Let's get this done. So, oh, not this. First movie details dot backdrop path. There are two. I think there's a backdrop path and there's something else as well. Let's see if. Okay, so to use the backdrop path, you need to do some tweaking on that. So the backdrop path, the way they're giving over here is, let's see, where do I see it? Yeah, the run history. So the backdrop path is basically a slash followed by the name of the image dot jpeg. So basically it has a URL associated with it, and you can generally search for it over here. Hopefully we get it. Okay. I guess you need to I did figure it out the last time how to search for it. Let me see how I found the URL. Okay. This is my screen. So this is the poster part. So this was the URL. I guess if you search for it within the movie database API, you should be able to find how to use a backdrop path or poster path. That's some tweaking that you need to kind of figure out. Poster path, and we would say, and okay, there you go. Similarly, you can insert the overview. Let's do that. Oh, Brian likes the movie, so I guess you're gonna watch that today, huh, Brian? So this, I always go back to this. It's kind of like I always use it in a gallery, and that's why I keep doing that. But first movie details dot overview, yeah, and let's put it on the scroll. And one more thing, let's just put the rating so that we can see. And because that's something that we can put in a rating control, what we'll do is our default, we'll set it to first movie details dot, I guess the variable is vote average. Yeah, vote average. Now that is a number, I think beyond 10. So you need to define so that's 7.4. So you want to define the max as 10, and then it should show you the rating, right? So you can see the rating like this. And you can also, let me see if there is something else that I can show you. So the IMDb ID, let's do that quickly so that I can show how the link thing works. Actually, we'll put a button. IMDb page And what we'll do is, so for IMDb, you'll have to go to IMDb. You can see the way they generally use their URL. So copy that, go back to the app, go to action, on select, we'll paste that URL, slash, that's how they want the movie ID over there, and we'll do first movie details dot imdb id. All right, so did it? Oh, I actually didn't put the start year and end year. So if you don't specify a start year and end year, it basically searches randomly in their whole database. So I guess we can put 2010 and 2018. Show me a horror movie. Okay. Need to do some changes over here. Yep. Let's just make it a bit bold. And yeah, and let's click the IMDb rate. I mean, so this is not nine, but this is 5 out of 10. But let's click on the IMDb page, and it's not opening for some reason. Oh yeah, I know why. I need to use a launch function. Launch is to launch a URL. Use that. And IMDb page. All right, so you see it shows up the IMDb page. So that's how you can use APIs, a nice movie API in your Power App and put it in a flow, kind of run the whole. I mean, it always needs a bit. The first time you kind of learn APIs, you'll always need to kind of figure out some easy ways to the way to kind of find the attributes that you need. But once you kind of get used to it, it'd be quite easier to use it afterwards for any other API. So that's all on the app. Let me see if I can show. Yeah, so I told you I'll show you the movie recommender app that I created, which has all the different details. So this is the random movie app. I have a separate video on this if you want to see. I'll put a link to that video over here, so you can have a look at that as well. So you can see in this, what I've done is I've created a whole UI over here, select languages, the year, reset filters. So in this case, if I put action and say click suggest a movie, it returns me this now, and it gives me the IMDb rating as well over here, view on IMDb. It shows me the different genres it is in. If there is a YouTube video, it will show that as well. All right, so let's come back. All right, so that's I hope you kind of got what you came for in this session. Oops, trying to see myself, but so yeah, this way you can create a Halloween app, Halloween movie recommender app, and if you need, I'll also post a link to the app files and the flow files for this. So if you need to find that out, if you need to want to play around with it, you can easily do that. Let me see if I have any questions from anyone. All right, no questions. We still have 3 minutes, so let's see some other Halloween content that April created on PowerApps. So she created a nutrition tracker. She used the there was an API which she talked about, the Nutritionics API, and she tracked the calories for all the candies that you eat on Halloween. So that's a cool way, right, to see how much weight you're putting on. The other thing which John Levy kind of took from, let's see if I have the video put over here. Yeah, so he used April's app to randomly pick a costume because he couldn't decide one. So that was, I guess, also from an API. Um, I'm not sure about that, but these are the different Halloween apps that were created, and so you can see how what all you can do with PowerApps and Flow combined, and try to think beyond those two components and try to integrate some third-party service within um, these two elements, and I'm sure you can kind of figure out some great ways to kind of include a lot of API data into this. Let's just I'll just do some 3 or 4 clicks so that you can get some recommendations if you want to watch something right now. You don't want to build an app. So the snowman, 50%, Vatican tapes. And let's see, the Bye Bye Man. I guess I need to watch something out of this now. So let's put something very recent. Okay, I have a question. So Geeta is asking, what error handling patterns would you suggest for API errors or any kind of errors? I mean, most of the time there is some error in the way you are putting the request in the URL. So always try to use the request that if they have a example kind of request, try to use that, kind of play around with that. And most of the time the error is over there. Otherwise it does, yeah, I understand it might be a bit difficult to kind of figure out, but I guess but yeah, so I would say just focus on the URL. That's the main portion, and see how the URL is formed and how you can change it. So that's all from this session. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this, give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for new videos. I'll try to make more these live hangout sessions so that you can have more interactive ways to learn. And happy power apping, happy Halloween. Bye bye.